Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are this is the Neighborish livecast. I'm Super Dave, aka Mr. Incredible, and this is
Super.
take two. And with me, as always, is DC's native son, the SE3 representative,
Hey,
Jay Son. What's up, brother?
good morning.
And shout out to our feminine energy, Patrice Fruitfit Jones. She's out on travel
Stupid.
right now. We wishing her safe travels and traveling mercies. But Destiny has smiled on us because in her absence, uh, filling in today with her feminine energy is one
Hey,
of my very best friends. Uh,
hey.
the, uh, I say she's a fun-sized vessel of black girl magic.
That's hilarious.
Miss Aisha Green, welcome. How are you?
Hey,
Hey,
It's
what's
good to
going on,
see
Jay?
you.
peace.
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah. And we got a great show for you today. Our guest is coming in momentarily. As you can see, he's
Mm-hmm.
connecting to the audio. So, in the few minutes that I have, I want to talk to you guys. Aisha, how you been? It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too, David. I am doing
Oh,
fantastic.
we got a guest.
Yeah, hey. How you
Got
doing,
no mic
brother?
though.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good,
Hey.
good, man. Good, man. I bet you ain't got no pants on under there. No, I'm just
That means it's true.
right. He
I
ain't say
mean,
no. But
no comment.
right. Officially, no comment. But
Officially, no
yeah,
comment.
welcome. So, as you can see, our guest is with us now. This is a dude that I've known most of my life, most of his life. And it's just awesome to see, the heights that he has ascended to. So he's a graduate. He graduated magna cum laude from Morehouse College and earned his Juris Doctorate. Is that correct? Is that saying? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, no, you
Juris
got it
Doctor
right.
from
Yeah.
Georgetown University Law Center. He's the CEO and chair of the Young Lawyers Division of the National Bar Association. He provides expert counsel for Fortune 100 companies and owns several businesses and properties in the DC area. Ladies and gentlemen, Nicholas Austin is with us today, and we're so glad to have him here. How you doing, sir?
Good, good. I'm sorry I was a little late. I had to finish a work Zoom,
Oh yeah,
actually.
yeah.
So
No, it's
shuffling back
good.
and forth.
All that stuff I just named, you a busy dude, man. We understand. We
Nah.
appreciate you for making the time to come kick it with us a little bit. Now, when I originally asked you to come on was right before the whole COVID thing popped off, and so we had to
Yeah.
reschedule. So I'm glad that we were able to get you on here. And at that time, I originally was thinking of having you on to talk to you primarily about a lot of the issues that have been going on, in the country with police brutality and things like that. And we were
Hmm.
venturing like, legal opinions and stuff with actually no legal knowledge whatsoever. So I thought it would be dope to have someone who actually has some, legal, a couple of letters behind the name to talk to us a little bit about it. But I didn't even think that, in this time we would be able to actually talk to you also about all this election stuff that's going on
Yeah, I mean
and
it's busy times for the country.
yeah, definitely,
That's
definitely. So
for
yeah,
better or
it's,
worse.
that right. So yeah, we're gonna get into a lot of stuff. But first is a few things going on in the city and in the country and in the world that we're gonna talk about. Like I
Yeah,
said,
what's going on, Dave?
yeah, it's a lot, man. The like I said, that whole election situation, as y'all know, the big news. Trump is out, Biden's in. Donald Trump and I'm sorry, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the new president-elect and vice president-elect of the United States of America, of this corporation that we live in. Yeah, it's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. We've talked a lot about elections and how they're run and things of that nature, and the effect that elections do or don't really have on people on in our level, um, or in different facets of America. And so I just wanted to get you guys' opinion, and I'm gonna start with our guest on the new president elect and vice president and just the whole proceedings. So Biden's the guy now. How do you feel about
He's the
that?
man.
Yeah.
Biden's a man. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, because I hope I don't offend anybody, but there are a lot of hoteps out there. And you'll have people that say, well, Biden doesn't care about black people. And what have the Democrats done for black people? And, you know, Trump's here and we should support Trump. And I laugh at that because clearly people don't read, don't pay attention to the news, have no idea of the things that the Democratic Party has done, right? You know, people go, oh, well, Trump gave money to HBCUs. I'm like, it was Obama that actually doubled the HBCU funding during his 8 years in office, and Trump just decided to continue it and not, you know, eliminate it, which is good, right? You know, so he gets credit for that. But you know, you'll have the hoteps out there saying, "Oh, well, Obama didn't do anything for black people." You know, it was Obama's administration and the Democrats that decriminalized a lot of the scheduled drugs in America. So a lot of African American men, in particular, were released from prison during Obama's reign because, you know, the federal government decided to take a different approach under Obama and not prosecute people, you know, for marijuana possession and things like that. And so, you know, I hear the hoteps out there and I just shake my head because, you know, you're reading something you saw on Instagram, you know, versus somebody who's been doing this in the field, you know, their entire lives. So it was kind of disappointing to see the black community, you know, not coalesce around Biden and an African American woman also running to be the first person of color, period, a woman, period, you know, vice president in our entire country's history. So I was kind of really disappointed in our community in that, but they still prevailed anyway. You know, they still prevailed, and you know, we got a Howard graduate, as you know.
HU.
You know, you know, you got a Howard graduate that's gonna be, you know, a heartbeat away from the presidency. And so, if you can't get excited about that as an African American person or a person of color, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I want to hear Aisha.
Well, you know, I was going to let Jay chime in on that.
So, so you said, nah, you don't have a.
Nah, don't be shy. Don't
Well,
y'all
no,
be
Jay
shy.
is-
We came to talk.
Jay is
We
one of
came to
those
talk.
hoteps that
Right,
you
that's
spoke
what
about.
I
I mean, I got to keep it real because I've spent the past 10 years studying this stuff. And so it's hard because people don't realize a lot of the talking points that you get, you know, Obama hasn't done anything for black people. A lot of that's actually come from the Republican Party. You know,
Yes.
sources like Breitbart, you know, conservative sources have put a lot of this material out and then it circulates on Instagram. And then you get somebody who just reads a fact pattern on Instagram or watches a YouTube video, and all of a sudden they're knowledgeable about it, and it's really harmful for the community. I'm not saying that you don't have to listen to everything that everyone tells you, but a lot of this information is public. You can go to the Library of Congress and pull tapes of congressional hearings.
Right.
You know, everything that's passed is at the Library of Congress, and if we live in Washington D.C., unlike most people in the country, we have free access to a wealth of information. And you can go and fact check some of this stuff yourself, and some of it's just simply not true, you know? And so that's the part that, you know, I have, you know, a lot of trouble with because I feel it's dangerous for the black community.
So I will piggyback on the Hotep comment because I don't know the statistics, but according to some news resources that I've listened to, they've indicated that a lot of African American men came out in larger numbers this election cycle for Donald Trump. And I wish I could recall her name. I think Dr. Tessie Cotton. She was talking about it on the Daily Show, and one of the things she referenced was the male patriarchy and the alliance with a lot of traditional black men with regards to that, and that Trump embodies or is a representative of that kind of energy. And I just want to ask black men how you feel or identify with that.
Well, he is Kanye West's daddy. I don't know if you saw that whole thing that came out, but
his father did not know
yeah,
that.
yeah, no, that's what happened. So, but yeah, Jay, what you got?
Well, as you know, Dave, I really haven't really been paying a lot of attention to the election and the climate surrounding it. And you know, based on my limited understanding of politics and political science, I've always assumed the office of the presidency of the United States was a position, just like, VP or, whatever positions you have in corporations. And so whatever comes with that position has duties and responsibilities. Whenever you get a job in a new position, let's say if you want in a corporate structure, and you go up the line, you go from manager to regional manager to, director, whatever the categories are in a particular company. When you fill a new role, that role has duties and responsibilities. So from my limited understanding of politics and electoral politics and political structure, the office of the presidency of the United States is a position that would be filled by the most qualified person, to fulfill those duties and responsibilities. Um, and so I guess my position is that the foundation of the corporation of the United States, um, and I don't know how it's so hard to argue. I'd be a bit confused about things, but I've never seen the office of the presidency of the United States work in favor of its, slaves or its second-class citizens who don't receive full, equal, and uh, uh, acknowledgement or rights. And I don't know if I consider myself a hotep, but based on the definition of hotep, I like what I mean. Just as far as the general definition of what hotep means, I don't see a negative in it.
Yes,
Um,
Hotep J, like quintessential.
She said you're
yeah,
the quintessential
and I don't
Hotep.
know, man. I'm a limited. I have limited understanding of things, and I just base my position off, my life, my family, my community, just the region of the world that I've been able to see and touch. Um, so I don't really have like a big opinion on it. Like I mean, it has never really mattered who's been president for me. And unlike the brother seems to assume, like I read a whole lot. I was in your illustrious HU in political science, getting my master's until I gained an understanding about electoral politics and politics, whereas those like, oh, I don't really need a degree to understand because I had gotten and understood what I was seeking. The reason that I enrolled at Howard in the master's program in political science is to gain a better understanding of electoral politics, how it affects me, how it affects my community, and the people that I know, love, and care for. And then once I gained a certain understanding, like I left. As you know, Dave, I ran for mayor of Washington, D.C. 2 times, um, and met and build with a lot of elected officials who are now in office. And I gained a lot of understanding, man. So I guess the biggest concern with me is the division and the divide amongst Black people surrounding politics and electoral politics in particular, because it seems to be a hamster wheel that we still are in the same position. We still have the same struggles that my parents had and that their parents had and that their parents had in regards to, and I'll leave while stop by quoting the great Tupac Shakur, we built this country and we don't get none of the damn benefits.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I mean, I agree with you, brother. But for me, it's the reason that I feel that we don't is because we don't play the game as African Americans in this country. Unfortunately, the country political structure rewards those communities that vote. They
Yes,
reward those communities that are super involved. And the best example anyone can ever give is the Jewish population in this country. You know,
yes,
they,
yes.
it's no secret, traditional conservative Caucasians do not like Jewish people. They do
No,
not, you
no.
know. The difference is they have managed to, regardless of their differences, because people are different, whether it's a group of 10 Jewish folks or a group of 10 African Americans, we're all going to be at all different levels of the socioeconomic spectrum. Where, some of us may be gay, some of us may be straight, some of us may be conservative, some of us may be liberal. But the Jewish folks have managed to put their differences aside and come together in
Education.
pursuit of one common interest. And that kind of power is what our current political system rewards, right? And so Jewish folks come together and they get their synagogue and they get their communities. They build PACs. They contribute money to political organizations that will advance their interests in math, and then they go do that. As African
But
Americans,
I
we've
can
just
tell you
never
how
been
they
able
do that.
to do that in a way where we have more clout in the political system. But one thing I want to add is, people go, oh, it doesn't matter who's president. Oh, it doesn't matter, if I vote. But then the question is, why are Republicans and ultra conservatives and neocon spending hundreds of
Million.
millions of dollars every year to affect
Right.
Black people not voting in this country? If it
Right.
didn't matter, you wouldn't have organizations that are literally formed to try and prevent Blacks from voting. And that's what I try to get people to wake up and see, that our power in America, if we come out and vote, we control the entire political system. Joe Biden himself said in his concession speech, last night or the night before, that he couldn't have won without African Americans coming out to vote. So people go, oh, it doesn't matter. It matters so much who's president, right? Because that's going to determine whether we have free health care. That's going to determine whether, student loans are going to get forgiven. That's going to determine the amount of funding for Pell Grants for people to go to school. It's going to affect a lot of things. Now, granted, day to day, whether you choose to, brush your teeth or not in the morning, whether you choose to, go here for dinner or there, no, it's not going to affect every single thing in your life. But a lot of the legacy things of how the quality of life your kids will have and their kids will have, it can affect that.
All right.
Yeah.
We got a response. No, but so
No. I'm in total agreement. Like one of the things I posted was that now that Joe Biden has been
But
elected,
you don't have classes until after. Oh, I'm sorry.
no, you get.
No.
and Stacey Abrams in Georgia, they have the runoff for the Senate. So it's important that the constituents in the state of Georgia are active and participate, so that for Democrats we can flip the Senate. I mean, that'll be huge for George. For Georgia Biden, Jesus, for Joe Biden as
Changed his name.
elect. Yeah, whole new name. Because I know for Obama, that was a hamstring. Like being able to get legislation passed it was impossible in a lot of instances because the Democrats didn't have the majority in the Senate.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back to the point of, oh, Obama didn't do anything for Black people. If Black people came out and voted, not just for president, but for the Senate races and the House races, maybe he would have been able to do more.
Yeah, I mean, he did what he could with what capabilities he could. And I think that it is a disservice, especially because he was the first African American president to put so much expectation, because he's the president for the entire United States, not just for us. And the scrutiny, just the ridicule and the overall energy that Obama had to bear as the first African American president, for him to come out and not to have a mental breakdown is amazing. So
Yeah. So I want to touch on a little bit of something that Nick mentioned, and that I noticed was an interesting trend, um, about Black people, or African Americans, descendants of slaves, and those that aren't descendants of slaves, descendants of Native
mm-hmm.
Americans, coming out and in a higher numbers for Donald Trump. Now I lean more toward the ideology of the presidency. The structure, and sometimes I question the amount of effectiveness that office has, and how much is being controlled by different entities and things of that nature. And so that I have a lot of skepticism, and I wouldn't say I'm Hotep by any, but I don't even, that term is
Yeah.
I
And
don't.
theorist, you're not a hotep.
Yeah, conspiracy, more conspiracy theorist. So,
Yeah.
but it was interesting to me that so me personally, I look at myself as somebody who, um, I kind of stay kind of out of those discussions. Like I voted in this election. Like I put on my timeline. I don't believe in like the system is crazy right now, right? And so the political system as it stands with the electoral college and how it's supposed to be set up to help some states have more, power, or some areas in some states have more power. That whole convoluted thing that's crazy, and when you get down to the core of it, it's just a way to say, even though everybody picked this person, if we want this person in power, I mean, that can be done. But with all that being said,
That's also open information that everybody can read and
right,
research.
right. The electoral college is bonkers, and it needs to be abolished. Honestly, in my
Yeah, it's
opinion.
really
But
it's a psychosis how that information exists online, and people are still so very confused as opposed to what the process is in the electoral voting.
and
Yeah, no, I agree,
even
and it should
after,
be abolished. They
yeah,
definitely should abolish the electoral college.
even after it happened twice, once with Al Gore, and then again with Hillary Clinton, where they both got more votes physically than the other person, but the other
Yeah,
person. But
without a
anyway,
vote.
but I say all that to say that you know, even if you're looking at it from my standpoint, even if you're gonna pick a side, to see so many black people pick, and people like and not giving any stock to the things that rappers say per se, but it's people like Lil Wayne and 50 Cent and people like that come out and say, oh, these tax breaks are, it's what's really pushing me toward, and the financial aspect of it is what's pushing me toward voting for Donald Trump. Even if you're going to pick a side, like to pick the side that aligns itself, like they had the couple that was waving the guns at the Black Lives Matter protesters speaking at their convention. Like they
Mm-hmm.
separated this dude's legislature separated kids from their families at the board. You know what I'm saying? There's kids that still don't, can't find their parents today. Like
Stand
to
back and stand by.
right, right. To align yourself with that, what I'm saying, that ideology. If you have to pick a side, to align yourself with that side, like, what does that say about black people in America that more, have been aligning themselves with, like, looking beyond all the stuff that, in my opinion, would have me to say, if I were to pick a side, that definitely wouldn't be it.
Can I
Like,
say something, Dave?
yeah, sure, sure.
So let me tell you something,
You
look,
like
man. My
Patrice now asking
homeboy.
permission to speak? You can speak. Go ahead.
Well, it's different because it's the Zoom, and if I was in person, I would just jump over y'all shit. But like
Go
Zoom,
ahead.
you gotta ask. So I guess I'm also confused about what you asking about, right? But my homeboy was locked up with Dylan Roof, right?
Okay.
Wow.
And he's viewed as an American hero, and as is George Zimmerman. He's viewed to white America as an American hero, as is the officer that murdered Mike Brown in Ferguson. So I've heard people from these areas say that the culture surrounding these individuals, they're deemed as heroes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, so the demographic that feels that way, Donald Trump is a representative of what the true, real America is, right? But if you talk to the liberal public or just general, like on television, it will be deemed that these people, this officer and Dylan Roof and George Zimmerman, are these horrible monsters. But in the reality of what America really is and how it feels, like Donald Trump is the representative of the truth. And the truth is, that is what they think about black people. Like if you hurt, harm, or cause danger to black people, like you're a hero. That's why these officers have these little secret gangs within the police unions where like they kill black people, and like it's like renegade groups. There was a guy in California that went to court saying that he was doing crazy shit to be a part of the inner gang and the units and the LAPD. And so the strange thing is that black people don't see this. Like, like what? Yeah, like the whole justice for who? Like, what's justice? Getting a $1 million payoff? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like George Zimmerman signed Skittle bags and
Yeah.
shit to pay his bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean,
And it's like, yeah, but okay, but now,
I mean,
I
white
guess we
supremacists
have our
support
own.
their own.
yeah,
Right. I was about to say, but it's
and
not
they
that we
happen to
don't.
have more money too.
It's not that we don't see it. It's that it's imperative that we push so that, because in saying that, that's the truth. The reality is there's a definite split in America as far as those who want to maintain the status quo and who recognize that their
But don't black people want to maintain the status quo?
no, not us. I'm talking about that 50% that voted for Donald Trump. They want things to stay the status quo. They want the white male patriarchy to stay in the position of power to their own detriment, to their own loss of life, to their own loss of advancement, whatever it may be. And there is the other side that recognizes that America, in order for it to move forward, has to embrace and recognize the diversity in this country, and that we're not on the fringe, and that we're not in these positions where you're regulated to being a slave or being in a subservient position. That we're supposed to
But
be
what's moving forward look like for America?
having Kamala Harris as the VP. That's what moving forward looks like.
I mean, I mean, brother Austin, what's moving forward mean? Because I don't understand.
To me, we start doing what they do.
VP, I don't understand.
To me, we start doing what they do, and that's coming together economically to make sure that our rights and what we want is listened to. It means us coming together and forming groups, and we kind of started doing that with Black Lives Matter. Where we're not just sending emails.
In that Soros group?
Huh?
In that George Soros group?
I mean, he's donated a lot of money to it, yeah. But I wouldn't say it's his.
So
group.
you mean you meant like us creating our own group?
Mm-hmm. Us creating. I mean, you're not gonna have no organization just has one. I always use the Jewish people as a model because I think they've done it the best, better than white people have done it. It's not just one group, right? The Jewish folks have numerous trade associations and groups that all advocate towards making life better for Jewish people across the world. We need more of that. We used to have that. The NAACP used to be that. The Urban League used to be that.
Wasn't that founded by white people too?
Yeah, I mean, this is the white country. We're 13% of the population in this country. There's always going to be some level of white influence in anything that we do in America, because whether we like it or not, this is not Africa. White people are part of this country and likely will always be a part of this country. But that doesn't mean just because a white person's involved or a white person donated money that the group still can't advocate for what we want as people.
I'm talking about the creation, not just being a part or donating money. I'm talking about creating the whole organization. I personally subjectively see a problem with that. Like a white person creating an institution for us. And Garvey always speaks to this thing called universal suspicion. Mm-hmm. It's not hating, it's not fucking with somebody. It's
you're rightfully critical and one. Yeah.
Like
that's
skepticism isn't bad.
It's not even skepticism, because skepticism still gives it like a negative undertone. Garvey was just saying universal suspicion because you are in collaboration with a demographic of people who basically hate you. They have history of murdering you, raping you, just to this day, treating you horribly, like with all the evidence and the facts and everything that you can, back it up with existing in front of people's faces every day, all day. I'm just saying universal suspicion makes sense when someone creates and funds the organization for you. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that, but I'm here to say not every white person, in America is actively trying to thwart, what we want as blacks. Not every white person is our enemy in that regard.
I never said that or anything close to that. I know a lot of real cool white people who's down with, what is right and what is good. So I don't want you to misinterpret what I stated with that comment that you stated.
Nick, you
Froze.
froze up, buddy. So yeah, that's we'll give him a second to come back through.
Do we just blame you, Dave?
Yeah, you can blame me.
Okay.
It's yeah, we can hear you.
You guys
Yeah,
hear me?
yeah, the picture. There you are. Hey, man. All right. So
there we go.
So yeah,
what was the last thing you guys heard?
Was right after he stopped talking, you froze up and we didn't hear anything you said.
Yeah.
Oh no. Basically, I was saying that all white people aren't our enemy for the most part. There were white folks that fought for abolition. There were white folks that fought for the end of slavery. And honestly, those things wouldn't have happened without some white folks, contributing to it. And so it's one of those things where we will need people and coalitions outside of the African American community if we want to be successful in effectuating our agenda.
Yeah, I agree. My point was only like of other organizations, maybe not white people, but any other organization that comes in and creates an institution and funds it for us just seems weird. That was just
I get you. And the thing is, we do need to start doing that on our own. We need to come together and say enough is enough. We're not going to spend money on any brand or any company that discriminates against Black people. We're not going to spend money in
but
other
that's every company.
I mean, but we gotta make the stances, right? And if that's every company, then we build our own companies.
Yeah,
indeed.
Yeah,
that's what it's gonna take for us to really be where we want to be in this country. And until we get that mindset, we're gonna be stuck in the same place that we're in.
Well, I have another question.
Starting to sound like you, Jay.
No, well, I guess. Well, how do we do that? How do we take the time to start our own institutions?
You're already doing it. I saw it behind you. I saw it right behind you. It's how you raise your children. It's how you mentor people in the community. It's how you serve as an example of how you're supposed to live life and how you're supposed to carry yourself as a Black man or a Black woman. And if every single person on this call and every single person listening to this show took the time to explain, Black group economics, took the time to explain, the power systems in this country and how they work, we wouldn't be in the issue that we're in now.
I think we would, because I think there's still like a target to have us incarcerated, to have us addicted to substances. And a lot of what helped the Jews is that they control their media. They control the music that their children listen to. They control the television and the films that their children listen to. They control the school systems that their children are educated in. They control the grocery stores, that control the food that their children and their family eat. So it's much easier to organize and mobilize a community when you have access and control of your means of production. So when you're still subjected, you are spoon-fed what food is in your community. You're spoon-fed what comes on your radio. You're spoon-fed what comes on your television. And that all goes into the development of a human being, a human mind, a human psyche, and we don't control those things. That has helped the Jewish community tremendously achieve accomplishments, when they can control the development of their children. I feel that we lack control of the development and education of our children. We outsource our development and our growth to political parties and these bourgeois groups that focus on I guess what's the shit Dr. King when he was like he was sending us to a burning house. We're trying to integrate with a society that hates our guts. And we just trying to minimize the fact that the country hates our guts. And it's not even me, it's not a subjective position by me. I can just look outside my window.
Oh no, we're Black men. We're Black men with
all of the facts of just today and be like,
we're Black men with beards in America. Me and you are public enemy number one. Everything you experience as a Black man is what I experience as a Black man. I totally get you 100%. But just because it's hard doesn't mean we don't have to try. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, we don't control it. Yeah, it's difficult. What? Yeah, they're against us, but we got to try. We've got to try to improve the lot of our people and struggles here in America. And I think
how do we do that when we're focused on a party that has nothing to do with us? Like, how do we focus all of our time, energy, money, prayers, spiritual healing, like everything that our community needs? How do we focus on us at the same time, focus on continuing to build up this country and its structure and framework that it created for them, which in the Constitution, all the bills and laws have been written, factually treat us like second-class citizens, but we're taking our lifetimes and our children's and our education, we're focusing on this system. Like, everybody's elated right now, as if, and then I've been seeing like my friends be like, oh, we won. And it's like, okay, well, if we won, now we can focus on the things that you talking about, Brother Nick. Right?
I think now is the time to hold them accountable. I think now is the time.
Them is you too, nigga. You too.
What do you mean? Like we're both persecuted. We're both black people in America.
What I'm saying is, you are an advocate for, I guess, this presidency, and like Kamala, like I know Isha cites about Kamala, and so it's like, oh, y'all won. So it's like, now, I mean, what does that mean when people are posting like we won? And based on the conversation that we're having here now, like, what does I won mean?
No, for me, it means, with my organization, the National Bar Association, which is pretty much all the black lawyers in America, is now is the time to hold them accountable for the things that we want. We want student loan debt, either canceled or subsided or cut in half at least, to give people some relief on their student loan payments and the money that they owe. We want health care for all. Everyone in America, especially communities of color, need affordable health care. From my grandmother to people I know paying thousands and thousands of dollars that they don't have, for medicines they need to live and, they can't afford. We need that. We need better schools. The schools in our community are terrible. They don't get the investment dollars that they need, and our children don't get, the kind of start that they need to have in life to be able to compete, get the jobs they want, do the things they want to do. We need more of that. We need police that don't shoot us, just to start with the basics.
Pause, nigga, pause. So, I know it's a hard truth for most black people to understand, but since the inception of the institution, police officers are trained to shoot black people.
Yeah, no, clearly the numbers bear that out.
You can't ask them to change their policy. Like, that's why they were created, to protect and serve property owners in this country.
Yeah, it started with the Runaway Slave Patrol.
Exactly.
And
so
we already know the history of it. But that doesn't mean I hear you, but we got to do what we got to do to stop what's happening in the streets. We can't just say, oh, it's their job, and then it is what it is, and it's never going to change. We got to advocate. We got to fight. We got to continue to change the laws in this country to make sure that if they do that, there's serious consequences and penalties for that happening.
From who?
From the law. White people aren't above the law in this country. They go to jail too.
The law is going to punish themselves?
I've spent my career studying the law, and there are plenty of white people sitting in jail for violating the law too. And if the laws change, police officers, whether they like it or not, will have to change how they do business. But the laws don't change because people don't vote. People don't elect their senators. People don't elect their congressional leaders. People don't elect their city council. The best, when somebody comes to me in DC and they tell me, oh, I don't get involved in politics, I have one word for you: Marion Barry. When I was 14, you know how I got my first job? Growing up in Trinidad, Northeast, in the crack-infested times of the 80s. And Dave, you knew how my neighborhood was like back in the day. I can't tell you how many times I've been shot at, how many times my windows have gotten shot out while I was sitting at home watching TV as a kid, how many people I've seen murdered on our streets growing up in DC and Trinidad. And still Trinidad, even with gentrification, isn't the community we wanted it to be. But you know who helped get me to where I am today? Marion Barry. I've never met Marion Barry, not one time. I've seen him out, at different things, but I've never met him or had an interaction with him. But Marion Barry helped me get my first job. Thousands of youth that didn't have anything to do over the summer back in the 90s, I was making $15 an hour working in the mailroom at a law firm. That's how I decided I wanted to become a lawyer, right? Politics don't matter. Marion Barry. You know why we have PG County? PG County used to be all white. PG County was 90% Caucasian. Marion Barry created. Exactly. Marion Barry created PG County. You know how he created PG County? Because when he became mayor,
rich black people.
He said, you know what he said? They weren't always rich black people. They weren't.
Well, I mean, them government jobs made them rich.
Exactly. Marion Barry said, you know what? This city has hundreds of millions of dollars in contractor work. Marion Barry took that contractor work from the traditional Caucasian companies that had a monopoly on it. And what did he do? He started distributing it to African-American owned companies. So now all of a sudden, if DC needed paper, there was a black company that provided paper to the city. If DC needed, repair services for construction dump trucks or something like that, there was a black company that did repairs for DC trucks and whatnot. And so all across the board, revenue shifted from only being monopolized by Caucasian companies to now African-American companies being able to get some of that revenue and money. And it created PG County, the richest African-American county in America. So people tell me voting doesn't matter. What if Marion Barry hadn't gotten in office and a white person had gotten elected?
Yeah, I think Marion Barry's legacy has been, and I feel like it's my conspiracy theory mind. I feel like it's a concerted effort to as they do with a lot of prominent African Americans to overthrow that legacy. And because now if you Google search Marion Barry, his arrest for drugs comes up before any of that. And I don't even think any of that stuff that you just mentioned comes up. But we're lucky and blessed enough in our generation to have people who are of that stock, people that we've actually had on this show, people like what's his name? Trayon White and Carl Thomas and politicians in the city who are actually moving to make, who still believe in the system and believe what Nick said about working within the system to make a better way for us here in this city and in the world, in the country and in the world. And so I don't want to stay on this. I knew this would be an interesting little back and forth between Jay, just because I know a little bit about who Nick is and what he does, and I know Jay is an interesting fellow also. But but I don't want to stay on this too much because I wanted to talk about a couple of other things and specifically get some legal information. Like I said, a lot of things have been going on. We've ventured like legal opinions about the things and stuff of that nature, but to actually have somebody with some law knowledge in the house to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on. I wanted to start with the biggest topic, of course, with all the lawsuits that Donald Trump is trying to pose to overthrow the election and things of that nature. Now, the way I see it, he's just kind of throwing up stuff to see what'll stick and try to get something to the level of the Supreme Court, which he padded so that he can, try to overturn something. Would you say that's accurate, Nick?
Very accurate. I mean, you distilled it to what it is. And that, again, this is why voting matters, right? Because, Jay, you can't tell me, if you put me on the Supreme Court, you know what I'm going to do.
Well, they're not
what time it is.
They're not going to put Rick Ross on the Supreme Court.
If you don't know, then I'm going to tell you. If I'm on the Supreme Court, I'm advocating for my people. Any way that I can, I'm trying to change things to make things better for you and your kids. That's my focus when I walk into the court every day, is what can I do to make life better for you?
But then the rest of your peers will kill you.
Martin, Malcolm, it happens. But I know what my calling is, and I know
I'm just saying. No, I'm not saying that literally. Now, I'm just saying, like, if you went in with the mindset that you had, like, let's just say, Nick Austin was elected to the Supreme Court, right? Then the rest of 11 other court people, they be like, yo, this nigga Nick, he be talking about this black shit and doing this for black people. It's going to mess up our money. It's going to cause, it's going to cause conflict in the status quo on how we conduct business in this country. So either you would have to do it subtly, or you couldn't just be like, Nick is for black people outright. I think, you know what I'm saying?
I
So
mean,
even if
I hear you, but I'm in corporate America, and I'm for Black people every day. You know, in my company, I forced our bank to look at investing and putting money in the Black-owned banks. You know, you
yeah,
can do
and
that.
I commend
You
you on
can
that.
be
I'm just
for
saying,
us. It's doable. I think a lot of people are just afraid. I think a lot of
yeah,
people don't have the chutzpah to go out there and say,
Chutzpah.
Black Lives Matter, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm about. My example for that is LeBron James. Before LeBron, even with Jordan, folks really didn't come out with hard stances. LeBron was
mm,
one of the first athletes to be like, I don't care about my endorsement. You can keep the money if you want, but Black Lives Matter, and y'all can't just keep shooting us in the streets.
I
And he
like
took a lot
LeBron.
of and he took a lot of flack for that. But LeBron was like, I don't care. I'm gonna do it my way. And we
Yeah,
just need
yeah,
more
yeah.
people in those roles like LeBron to be able to stand up and say, to hell with your money and endorsements and tax write-off. This is my agenda and this is what I'm for. LeBron put his money where his mouth is. He says, you know what? I'm gonna start schools. I'm gonna at
Right,
least
right.
focus on trying to change my hometown. I can't change the world overnight, but I'm gonna start changing my hometown. And so in Akron, Ohio, LeBron's changed many, many lives with the money he's put into his schools, helping kids get food, education, access to resources. So, I mean, what if every rapper, entertainer took a LeBron mentality? How would that change life in America for all of
Well, you're getting into the property of the Jews, Nick.
us?
The Jews own the rappers, Nick.
I mean, money owns the
And
rappers.
hold on, because you're a lawyer, so I have to be quite on point with you. So I would invite you to check the whole board of directors and the CEOs of every major record
Oh, I
company.
don't need to check. You're right. You're
And
100%
so they
right.
are property of the agenda of the Jewish community. So
Well,
if rappers are talking about drugs and shooting each other in the head and being promiscuous and big rims and shit, that comes from a executive CEO meeting of what they want discussed in the culture in the Black communities, and then they'll hire,
Well,
their
but more than looking at
representation.
it as just
So,
Jewish or white, I look at it as old Wu Tang, Cream, right? Cash rules
mhm.
everything
I don't
around me.
know. I think
And
there's a
so for
big, and
me,
in law, I think there's a bigger agenda than just money. There's
I mean, the
definitely a
money
bigger
is what they
agenda than money.
use to control the artists, right? It's the money that creates the control because
That
the
makes
artists
sense.
are willing to do whatever it takes to make the money.
Right.
Without the money lure, they don't have the control. And I
Right.
think that just goes back to, our hyper focus as a community on getting paid. We're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
hyper focused on getting paid, and that's what you really use to control us. Whether it's corporate America, whether you're a rapper or a basketball player or a football player, when you're so focused on just the money. And I think that goes back to, people like Lil Wayne and 50 Cent focusing on, well, Donald Trump may be racist, but look how much money I'm gonna make on my tax cuts.
Right,
You
right.
know, we're just so focused on that, and I think that's how the system is used to control us in this country, especially at that level. And that's why I have so much respect for people like LeBron, who say, "I don't care. It's not about the money to me. It's about doing what I feel is right for my community."
Stank. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You say what? Y'all breaking up? Hello.
Bron got that long bread though. He could do shit like that.
Yeah,
You ask
yeah.
that first year rookie, that just coming to the league that got the minimum, he ain't doing shit. It's like, man,
Well,
I'm waiting.
you
I'm gonna go
know,
ahead and get
and
the
that,
swastika tattooed on my head.
oh Lord. but
Man,
but I mean, I think that it's more organizations focused on guidance and giving these younger athletes, because these young athletes is blowing money like crazy and not really, like you said, their focus is not on what they can do for others or their community or anything. And I feel like what Nick said is true, and it's manufactured also, is that belief that money is the key. And so it has us focused on, and it's not even about a better life anymore, to the point where now it's just about having money and having things, like the possession of it. It's not, I got this money and I'm gonna move out the hood. Now I got this money and I'm gonna get cars and rims and stuff, and I'm gonna stay in the hood and I'm gonna buy bricks and sell them on the block to get more money. It's craziness. But yeah,
I blame you, Dave.
you blame me
Yep.
for I haven't sold bricks in years. No, I'm just playing. I never did. No, I'm joking. No,
I'm gonna
but
tell your mama.
see, yeah, exactly. Nah, yeah, you know my mama, so you know I ain't sold nothing, and my dad was a
Nah.
cop. Right. So, but yeah, I want to move on to a little bit lighter topic before we get into specifically interviewing and talking to Nick about all of his awesome accomplishments. A couple of things happened over the weekend. Chappelle hosted SNL again. Did you guys see it?
I did.
No, I didn't get that. Was it good?
It was really good.
His monologue was amazing. Jay, did you see it? I know you're a big Chappelle fan like I am.
Absolutely. I saw I didn't see the whole show, but I saw the opening monologue.
Yeah, and they let him do a long set. He kind of went off. Nick, check it out when you get a chance.
I gotta check it out.
Yeah, it was deep and interesting. And the funny thing is, I've talked to people, black people and white people, who was like, "Man, it wasn't that funny. I didn't really get it." And to each of those people, I said the same thing, which was, it wasn't for you, So, but
he definitely didn't do his blanket make everyone laugh monologue. No. He definitely was. It was agenda based. It was agenda based.
Yeah. So,
it was for white people. It was a word.
Yeah, because he was digging. So just like his joint that he did in Ohio.
Yeah.
After the 846, it wasn't really meant to be funny.
Yeah.
He was going to say stuff that had some humor involved, and I feel the same way about the monologue. It wasn't really like, yo, I'm about to come out and do SNL and be hilarious. He was just like, okay, oh, y'all asking me to come on national TV the day after the election? Like, okay, I have some things to say, and he's going to like sprinkle some crackle, sprinkle some humor.
Comedy, right.
But it wasn't like a stand up, I'm gonna make you laugh. So I understand what the people are saying who you spoke to, Dave, but your answer was appropriate. It wasn't for them. And
it was still hilarious though. And also right in it, he said, he basically said the point of it, which is, I can't even say any real stuff without having a punchline to it. I mean, he said that in the monologue. So, so that's kind of what he did too. But using that platform, having millions of people, just waiting for him to come out and do something so that he can get out there and actually say some real stuff and add some punchlines so they can still say, well, technically it was a stand-up. But adding more knowledge and more teachings, I think, is what makes him a dope person and comedian, and so shout out to Chappelle. He did a great job. The monologue was amazing. Like you, Jay, I was working that night, so I didn't see the entire show. I saw like maybe one or two skits, but the monologue really stood out for me. After I saw that, I was like, that's all I need to see, nigga. I'm done.
Right.
But so one more thing, the true hip hop fans are really excited. Over the weekend, it was announced that the Versus battle is doing a Tribe Called Quest versus Outkast, which is historic.
Wow.
That's really
it's huge. Yes. They said Swiss announced it, and it's going down. The two of the greatest hip hop groups in the history of hip hop, and so that versus, the whole concept of the Versus battle has been like an amazing celebration of music. And the celebration of black excellence. I haven't seen any white. Have y'all seen any white artists on the Versus battle?
No.
I think Timbo and Swiss kind of keeping it black too, right?
Yeah.
I do want to see a white joint though. I want to see the nigga Michael McDonald versus the nigga that sang "Do for Love." What's the nigga name?
Bobby Caldwell.
Bobby Caldwell.
Michael McDonald. That'll be a tight joint.
You want the soul? You want the blue soul one?
Yeah. What is it? The blue? Yeah, blue collar soul.
Blue-eyed soul.
Yeah.
Switch it up, man.
That's hilarious. So we've talked about it a few times. I don't think Nick or Aisha was on it with us when we talked about it, but did you guys have you been following the Versus battles, and did you have a favorite of any of them? Let's do ladies first. Aisha, do you have a favorite Versus battle?
Yeah, I've watched most of them. The Brandy and Monica one I thought was really good. The one with Beanie Man, I thought that was like when they took a turn to improve the quality of the verses, because when they first came out, they were kind of janky, a little janky.
Yeah, shout out to Teddy Riley.
Yeah, Teddy Riley.
Poor
and
Teddy. He didn't become a verb.
Right.
And sound stages all around the world. Like, don't Teddy Riley me, man.
Right.
Damn, Teddy. Fucking with verses.
He still won that joint, though. He still won.
Did he, though?
You don't think so?
So
He
I'm
killed
coming. I'm
Babyface.
a fan, a huge fan. I just feel like Babyface's petty was so much greater. That yeah.
When he was like, "Oh, you remixed that? I don't do remixes." That was yeah,
Go ahead,
Babyface. That was
babyface.
dope.
Yeah, he's kind of petty.
But Nick, have you followed the versus battles at all?
Yeah, I think Brandy Monica was my favorite because it was clear that Monica doesn't like Brandy, and
Oh,
that
very
was
good.
just hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, but it's usually a good celebration of like I said, black culture and black music,
Mm.
and they've been getting like setting records. And when we come together to do something, like it's always that. It's always we breaking all kind of records, breaking and when it's a celebration of excellence, I think that one of the key things about the whole election season was they played on people's want to see a fight, and that was the whole energy was I hate this person, I hate that person. On the contrast, there's something called the versus battle, but it's more admiration and love between the two artists, and I think that's what brought a lot of people out to see it and made it beloved and made it a huge money maker for Timberland and Swiss. Shout out to them, and it just made it something that we're anxious to see now. They're getting big people because they wouldn't be able to get these big names if it wasn't something that that people could get behind. So shout out to them
yeah,
for doing that, man. It's an amazing thing, and I'm
yeah,
anxious to see this Tribe Called Quest versus Outkast. It's
Oh
Yeah.
gonna
yeah,
be
that's gonna
crazy.
be legendary.
Yeah,
yeah.
I
that's
just
Absolutely.
wish Fife could be alive to see it.
right. Yeah. I saw some people saying it wasn't, a fair or balanced because Fife wasn't here. But I mean,
Yeah.
you can still play the music and tribute him. So I feel like
The
it's gonna be
Three
good.
Stacks probably ain't gonna show up anyway.
Right. Right. Nah, I
He
wasn't
gonna be
feeling it.
on at home on the couch,
Right. Or on Jupiter, wherever he is
right,
at any
playing
given
playing the
time.
flute and shit.
Right. I was busy with my flute. I couldn't get in,
Right.
but yeah. So I want to take a few moments to talk to you, Nick. Thank you so much for joining us and engaging in
Anything
conversation.
for you, man. You were when I was younger, man. I thought you were the coolest dude ever, man. I always,
What?
I'm glad
Damn.
somebody
always
did
just
right.
yo, he would just walk up to the piano at the church and just start jamming like a virtuoso, like
Oh, well.
just super talented. That's why you stupid Dave, man. So I've always had nothing but love and respect for you. And so anytime you
Yo, this
need
nigga
me,
said virtuoso, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean he
It was
was.
a Morehouse.
I mean he just being there, like and so it was just one of those things
Yeah.
where I've always had a lot of love and respect for you, man. So anytime you hit me up, I'll always make time for you, bro.
You definitely do, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you coming through to hang out with us. And you, man, just knowing you from a little kid to seeing the immense heights that you've been able to reach is a blessing to me, man. Like it just feels good to see somebody I know make it. I know a lot of people who ain't make it. So when somebody just gets to a good position in life and they comfortable and doing well but I feel like anybody that knew you from the era that we were around each other in or at any point probably has no doubt that you would get to the level that you're at now. And
Well,
so
man, it's bittersweet though because I got so many cats from Trinidad in my hood that ain't make it, and
right.
then there's so many people that ain't making it that look like me and you. So
Right.
yeah, I got a little bite of the apple, but I can't enjoy it because I look out and everybody else is still hungry. So we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, definitely. You running for office? That sound like a no. I'm just playing. But
Nah,
no,
man,
that's
I ain't in the politics, man. Everybody always says it, but for what Jay said, it's just hard, man. I just don't like the special interests. I don't like, you need money to run for office, and then you gotta, not sell your soul per se to get the money to run a campaign.
right.
And it's just not me. So I'd rather
Understood.
try to work behind the scenes and lobby and help and connect people and try to make things better that way.
That's dope, man. That's
I
dope.
want to talk to you about that too once Dave gets a little deeper into your interview.
Yeah. So, and I figured you would, but yeah. So I want to talk to you about. I want to go back a little bit to the times when I knew you growing up as a young man, in Trinidad. So, do you remember being younger and people asking you what you want to be when you grow up? Do you remember what you would say? What your ambitions were back then?
Yeah, I think back then I was always just like, oh, I want to be like a politician or something like that. I was really big into like, public service and,
Yeah.
being president. I want to be president of the United States of America. You be young and naive. You don't really even understand what it means, but it
Right.
just
Till you
sounds good,
saw
right?
Obama.
I mean, yeah, you saw Obama do it, but Obama kind of,
Iced you up.
I met that dude and he is on some,
Oh, you really got sliced up.
he's on some different stuff, man.
Yeah,
Like when I
yeah.
say genius, that dude is a different level of intelligence. And I don't think people really
Yeah, 'cause
realize
he
that.
killed my man. He killed my man Gaddafi. I was like, yeah, he got to be a genius.
He killed
Yeah,
Gaddafi.
he's-
Yeah, that's my man.
Like the
he's
real
on.
Gaddafi?
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't know nothing anyway. But yeah, moving on. We'll circle back to that. Put a pin in that. We'll circle back to it.
No need. It's okay.
But so how did your interest get into law? Like, when did you first start?
It
Follow
was
to
in college at Morehouse, really. I
Morehouse?
wasn't sure what I wanted to. Yeah, I know, right? We ain't HU, but we got a little juice,
Right.
And so I had a mentor.
When was you in Morehouse, Nick?
Huh? From 2002 to 2006.
Oh, you young. Okay.
And so I'm not that young,
Right.
I think I got like
I'm
a
just
gray in the
real
beard a
old.
little
I'm
bit.
just real old.
Yeah, Jay's son is actually 76 years old. He drinks a lot of. He uses
I was like, oh, you wasn't even there when I was down there. I wasn't at Morehouse. I was down there at Clark.
Oh, you were a CAU.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
But this was way, way, way before you.
Yeah, he just
AUC love, man. You already know how we do.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
But yeah.
for me, it was just a mentor. Like anything else, you really can't see the path. So I think most times you need somebody to kind of show you the path. And so there was a senior who I thought was real cool, and he was just like, yo, I've been seeing you around campus. Have you ever thought about, doing law? And I was just like, well, a little bit, but I don't really know, how to do it. Like, how do you become a lawyer, right? It's like where you said, like, my mom was a social worker, my dad was a cab driver. I grew up in the hood, and so I was lucky enough to play sports and go to good schools. But outside of that, no one at school tells you this is how you become this or this is what you do to do that. You kind of just got to figure it out. And so my mentor at Morehouse was like, yo, you should do this. And then he gave me his LSAT study books. And he was like, do this, do this, do this, do this. And so I was just like, all right. And so I did it. And that's really how I became a lawyer. It wasn't some like stroke of genius on my part. It was really just somebody having an interest in me to say, I think you'd be good for this. You should try to do this that look like me. And so that's why I think it's important. Like I was telling Jay before is, kids, I didn't realize this, but kids really listen to you kind of, they may not say it, but if you're like, yo, I think you're good at this, you should consider it. And here's how you can do it. And I'm going to help you. 9 times out of 10, most black kids are going to be like, all right, I'm going to see what my man's just talking about.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I just want to say real quick that I wonder how much, how well this person knew you, just because knowing you growing up and how into debate you were and how good you were at it. Like I remember we used to have like the little mock debates at church and stuff, and you would kill it every time. So to say that you weren't even thinking about law, that's interesting.
I wasn't thinking about it. No one had mentioned it.
Wow.
No one was like, this is what you should do. Or people say, oh, you could be a lawyer, but no one ever told me how.
Right.
Or like, what was the process, or what were the steps, or how much money, how I'm gonna pay for it, right? Because my parents didn't have no money.
Right.
So how am I gonna pay for this? We can't. My mama can't co-sign. I hope my mama ain't listening. she had a kid. I know, right? You out there telling my bitch. But my mama was broke. She ain't had no money.
Right,
So like somebody's like, oh, be a lawyer. You're like, how are we gonna do that?
Right. It seems like the unattainable,
Yeah.
But
like law school when I went was $50,000 a year.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just tuition.
Yeah.
That ain't even like how you gonna eat, where you gonna sleep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's just like that's almost, you're talking about $250,000 when it's all said and done. Like, where's that money gonna come from? There are loan limits. You can't get that much in loans.
Right.
For most black people's credit, that's not how it's set up for us. So how you gonna do it? And so no one really ever tells you, oh, you can say, oh, I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be a doctor. How, Sway?
Right. Right. Yeah. But you figured it out though, and you said it was a largely attributable to having a strong mentor and somebody
Yep.
who took an interest in you, and that's dope. And shout out real quick to Jay, the work that he does mentoring the youth in our area, and he's kind of that beacon, kind of that person to be like, look, you more than your circumstances, and you can do this. And like he said, it's not even really, um, you know, giving them a direction as much as showing them their excellence and letting them kind of go with it,
Hmm.
Yeah, he
and
was
do what they
right.
do.
They'll listen to you if you got something to show them and to tell them. They will listen to you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So,
Most people just be talking to them and don't have nothing for them after the talk.
Hmm.
And that's become problematic. So he's absolutely right. Like if you talk to a young person and show them something and be like, I'll support you,
Yeah,
we could get we could take great strides just in that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with you 100%, Jay.
Yeah.
100%.
So I want to get a little bit into your cause like you mentioned before, you've studied law for 10 years. You said 10 years, right?
Well, 11 now. It's
11, yeah. And
crazy.
so this is something that you've pretty much dedicated your life and your time and your focus to for the last 11 years. And so there are a lot of people, and me myself included, who have had different opinions about the legal system and how it's set up. And so I'm gonna tell
It's
you,
jacked the fuck up.
right, right, right,
It just is.
pretty much. And so
It
and
just
so I was gonna
is.
tell you a quick story. The last time that I was called for jury duty, right? There's a point where you're in there and they're selecting the jury and they're picking you and they give you a little index card and they're like, we're gonna
Hmm.
say things with a number. You write down the number that applies to you. And so they asked if you have family in law enforcement, and so I wrote down that number. And then they said if you have any issues with the legal system, and I wrote down that number. So the two lawyers and the judge called me up to the front and asked, and they're like, "What's your issue with the legal system?" And I was like, "Well, the corruption that exists in it." And people say that a lot. People don't even understand what corruption means, and so they were like, "Well, can you explain a little bit?" Because people use that to get out a lot. But I was like, "So I'm not disrespecting your profession." Because I'm sure you gave your life to this profession, and I'm sure you're all a noble people, but your nobility can only go so far in a corrupt system, right? So, for instance, if somebody's on trial, whether they're innocent or guilty, it's more acclimated to serve the person whose lawyer is more prepared, whose lawyer is more focused, and at times
This is
even whose
true.
lawyer is closer in friendship or relation to the judge or whatever the case may
This is all
be.
true
And
too.
it's tough for me
Yeah.
to even agree with a system that is the case in. And so and they let me go, but so they was like, all right, you're dismissed. But so to people who feel like that and who have the evidence of things that have been happening for years, especially to the black community, um, I look at people like you and I see you as like a beacon to us, saying, "Look, this is what the legal system can be for us if we just use it to our advantage." So, what do you say to people who feel like I did at that point?
The system is corrupt, unfortunately, but America is corrupt.
Yeah.
I mean, this country, we essentially stole the land. Well, not we, I guess. We, in the sense, we're Americans, but you and I didn't do that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
we came over here, by force.
right,
We didn't, what Malcolm X said, like the Plymouth Rock landed on us.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And so that's true, but talking about it and complaining about it ain't gonna change nothing either.
right,
So you got to get involved, and the way to get involved is to be on juries, right? Because what happens is a lot of times there's a lot of black people just disengage from the system. They say, "Oh, it's corrupt. I don't care about it. I'm not going to do jury duty," right?
Right.
So say something happens to me, right? Where I work, say Nick stole, blah 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 blah. It's not true. They made it up. So now I'm on trial, right? I go look at the jury, and the jury's all white.
yeah, yeah,
There's
Yep.
no black people wanted to be involved. So I don't have any help.
No
yeah.
I don't
representation.
got no representation.
And it
So
goes,
if,
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
or do the reverse, right? Say I go to jury duty, right? And there's a young black boy, right? Like let's say he got caught with a gun, but the kid is talented. Let's say he's a basketball star. He's got some talent. He's got a future. It's almost an Ivan Iverson situation, right?
Yeah,
And so that kid needs an advocate on the jury to be like, yeah, he got caught with possession of a handgun, but look at this kid. He just lost. He just need mentoring. Put him in some type of little probation program for a little bit. Don't kick him out of school. Give him a chance to get this right. If there's a black person on that jury, maybe that kid gets that chance, right? But if all the black people disengage and say, nah, the system is corrupt, I'm just not even going to be a part of it.
Yeah, no help.
He's going to Lorton.
He's getting
locked up in Lorton.
Before you go, Jay, I just want to say real quick, the reason I don't do that anymore is because a black woman, a black woman who was in law school at Howard cussed me out for that. Like, I felt good about it. I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. And I got off of jury duty, so it must be true. And she was like, nigga, do you realize the person that was on trial probably went to jail because you wasn't on that jury? And I was like, oh. And it took me, and it messed me up for a while. But yeah, go ahead, Jay. What you got?
Hey, so I'm a big advocate for jury duty, right? So are you in D.C.? You practicing law in D.C., Nick?
Yes.
All right, so I love jury duty. I love to go. And so what's the jury's called when you do a whole bunch of cases? Like, we had to go for like 3 weeks and sit in this room, but they brought us like what is it?
Grand jury? Is that what it is?
It's grand jury or petty jury?
Grand jury can do that as well. Both can,
but we
depending on the
kept
case.
getting like different cases all day, every day. We was getting different cases. So I don't know.
You were on a docket.
Oh, okay. So what happened was, the reason I love going to jury, because I do exactly what you just talked about, Nick. So everybody was getting off, right? So everything that was coming to us was like, possession of like $20 bag of weed.
Yeah, nobody need to go to jail for that.
So look. So we got to about like 30 cases, right? And I got everybody off, right? like everybody. Yeah. I was like, nah, because but now it was some dudes that like did a rape or like a murder. I was like, nah, you gotta go, bro. Like, can't have you out here living like that. But anyway, so after about like the 30th case, they brought in the DA in DC. It was a black dude. Do you know what I'm talking about? Is he still the DA in DC?
What was his name?
I forgot. He was a black dude. He had a bald head. I just knew he was black. I didn't expect it to be a black man.
Nick?
No, it wasn't Nick.
I wasn't there.
Right.
But anyway, this is probably at least 10, maybe 15 years ago, right? So they brought the black DA in, and they pulled me out of the jury, right? And he went to talk to me in the hall. And he gave me the spirit. I went in similar to what like Dave was doing. But it was like the opposite, like, yo, that's the reason I'm here. Right. And we talked about the corruption of the system. And he told me face to face, he was like, because I was questioning him. Like, I tested him. Like, yo, bro, you the DA, and you know what I'm saying? It's like, how many white people do you lock up? And how many blah, blah, blah? And he was just like, look, man, the system is corrupt. And he was like, to be honest with you, he was like, you doing what you supposed to do. And and it was fucking, I guess it messes up their record or what have you, but he still was like, look, man, he was like, you right, you telling the truth. He was like, the system is corrupt, man. He was just like, well, he was like, you exercising your right. He was like, this is how you can, what I'm saying?
Make a change. And for that person that you saved from jail, you've changed their life, man. That's a big ass change. To go from being in jail to not being in jail, I don't know a bigger change.
Right. And the reason I bring that up is that, like, even from the beginning of our conversation, we all are on the same side, right? Because we all kind of want things, whether you consider me a hotep or
I know.
It doesn't matter. I just want what's right.
We want the same thing.
Right. And even when I talked to that DA who was on the opposite side, when we talked one-on-one, eye to eye, we both realized too, like, damn, even we want the same thing. We just don't know how to approach it that makes it just for all. You kind of have to accept a little corruption. Like he was telling me, he was like, yeah, it is corrupt. This is my job. I've been doing this for 20-something years. Like, what you want me to do? Like, I ain't gonna stop. And he's like, I'm in it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I make 6 figures. I got a family. You know what I'm saying? I do my job well. I think I'm doing what's right for the people. You know what I'm saying? And then he was human enough to see my position. Because, they brought him in there to talk to me, to kind of like reprimand me. Like, yo, you can't just come here and just like let everybody off. But at the same time, after talking to me and me expressing why I had that position, whether I was right or wrong. He understood it. And it was like, even though you're messing up my record, you are exercising your right to do what you feel. So it was kind of like a common ground, and it was weird and awkward. And we left. And I actually ended up seeing him at the Jamaican restaurant like 3 or 4 years later, right? Then I was like, hey, you the DA, right? And then he was with cops. And so I guess the cops came to like,
they thought you was about to.
And then he was like, oh, yeah. Then he kind of like held them back because he was like, nah, I remember you from jury duty. I was like, yeah. But he was like, yo, he locked up so many people, he never knows who's like trying to retaliate and hit him. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, that was deep. That was deep, you know? Yeah. Because it's like at the same time, like you still, how you was just saying, Nick, how we, you know, me doing that was like keeping niggas out of jail. He's put a lot of niggas in jail for serious time.
I could never do that. Charges. I could never be a DA. It's just not my.
Yeah, I was like, damn, because we was just at the Jamaican spot, and he was. I was like, hey, and they was like, yo, how you know him? Like,
right.
I was like, that's a lot of pressure right there.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy, man. But real quick before we get back into the interview, I do want to say that that's kind of the idea, like the mad scientist, the overview of these type of conversations that I have is seeing people from different positions like Jay and Nick have these conversations and come to the conclusion that we both working for the same thing. If we were to take these powers and put them together, you know, and build. Yeah, and that's the goal of it. So with that being said, I'm gonna ask a few more questions because it's already 12:19, and this has been a good conversation though, so I appreciate it. But so that negative connotation that people have with lawyers and with the legal system, I guess we kind of already touched on it a little bit. But is there anything specific that you believe that can be done to start to change that? Or turn a direction and make people see that, you know.
Yeah, Obama started it. Obama appointed more black judges than any president previously in history. Right. And if you load the legal system with nothing but black people, some way, some kind of how, our interests are gonna get hurt in there. And so I think we need more black judges. We need more black people like Jay coming to jury duty, because there's no reason somebody should get locked up because they had a nickel bag. Like, really?
Right.
Going to jail because you had a nickel bag? Like, you know, we need people in there like Jay to say, okay, this is ridiculous. You know, give the dude a ticket and keep it moving. Make him pay a fine, maybe, but he don't need to have a record for a nickel bag.
Yeah.
You know, now if you show up with like, 20 metric tons, then you're like, well, like, dog, man, you can't.
You might have to do some time for that.
You might gotta do a little bit of time for that. You know what I mean?
I'll be in jury duty like, I'm sorry.
Maybe that's some time. But like a little bit of weed, like you shouldn't have to go to jail for that. That's ridiculous, you know? Right. Like a little bit of crack, I mean, okay, yeah, you probably shouldn't do crack, but to go to jail for that, maybe you just need some type of like improvement program, you know, some counseling, you know, maybe that's what you need, you know, but we need more people on jury duty. We need more black lawyers. We do need more black prosecutors that can, maybe make some of these decisions, instead of sending this person to jail, maybe at home probation, like a lot of Caucasians get, a lot of Caucasians that do crime, they get this thing called deferred prosecution, where they say, you know what, the time you would have spent in jail, we're just gonna basically, let you do some community service and you'll be on probation and you can't mess up, for the next year or so. A lot of Caucasians that do things get those kind of deals, but we don't have people to advocate for us, so we don't get that. So I think if we want to see the legal system change, that means we just have to be involved in it. We just got to get involved in it.
Dave, I know you got questions, but I got a question for Nick, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so you spoke a little bit earlier about lobbying, right? So I'm trying to give information to the youngins in my community about what lobbying is. So can you just break down like what, on a layman's term, like
what you talked about basically. It's people with money using that money to make something happen the way they want to see it, right? So let's say I own a pool, right? I own a neighborhood pool, right? And DC currently says that you can't charge to have people in a neighborhood pool. If I open a pool in DC, it's got to be free, right? So you're a lobbyist, right? So I pick up the phone and I say, hey, Jay, you a lobbyist. Let me give you $20,000, right? Go talk to the mayor, go talk to the city council and get that rule change for me. So you take that $20K, you use your connections, you call up Bowser, you go, hey, look, we got some folks, trying to do this community pool thing, can you help out? You take Bowser to dinner, right? You maybe
I'd love
Bowser.
to take Bowser to dinner.
It's funny that you would
Me
say
too.
that. Jay has a crush on Bowser.
I got a crush on man.
Right.
I mean, she alright, but no, but like, I was gonna say ghetto doobie, but I'm not gonna go that far.
Okay.
But like but she's cool though. But no, like, so you take Bowser out to dinner. Bowser likes, I don't know. I was gonna say like Babyface. Babyface is coming to town, so you take Bowser, to watch, the Babyface concert, right?
I'm getting it. This is too visual for me. You gotta scale this down. I really like her. I'm like, oh, she like Babyface? Like,
No, right?
I'm about to lobby Babyface. Like, yo, bro, I need you up here.
and so,
but is that what a lobbyist?
That's what a lobbyist is. So,
that a paid position though? Like,
yeah, they make lots of money. Some lobbyists in DC make millions of dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is the law comes up for renewal, right? So that you can now charge for people to have access to pools, right? So when that law comes around, Bowser and the city council, you done taken everybody to dinner, you done promised people favors, you done hooked everybody up. So they're gonna vote for it now. So now you come back to me because I paid you the $20K and you say, hey, Nick, thanks for the $20K. You'll be able to charge for people to come to your pool now. That's how lobbyists works, right? Corporations, rich people.
Hold on, Nick. So to be a lobbyist, do you have to like have like a desk or office on the hill? Like what? Like how? No,
it's influence, right? Lobbyists get paid to be influencers. Right. So just like how I hired you to influence the mayor for me, like you hire a lobbying firm or you hire an individual contractor lobbyist to advocate for you on whatever you want to see happen. Whether that's a typical lobbying thing where if you're a pharmaceutical company and you want the rules relaxed for human trials, right? You'll pay a lobbying company to basically sit at Congress all day, follow the Congress people around and say, y'all need to do this. Y'all need to do this.
So how does the person know to start a lobbying company? Does it have to be like some random individual that knows a lot of congressmen?
Yeah, it's usually people who become lobbyists have influence on the people that are in office, right? Okay. Like let's say you know Trayon, right? Yeah. And so like your relationship with Trayon, essentially you be trading it in for money. Because people know you know him, so I would give you $20,000. Maybe say I care about community activism. So I would give you $20,000 and say, hey, can you convince Trayon to sponsor a bill increasing community activism? And then you get the money and then you go do that. And so you'll take Trayon to lunch, you'll talk to him, you'll write a proposal. Here's a proposal on how you can do it. You'll put everything together. So all Trayon has to do is advocate it. And that's what the lobbyist is. Basically, you're like a whisperer. You're an influencer.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That helps a lot.
And anybody can be a lobbyist,
That's what I was trying to get at.
Anybody can be a lobbyist, but it helps, of course, if you have connections and you have access to those people, because you usually need lobbyists because those people are hard to get to, and those people have tons of people trying to monopolize their time, and so you got to be like like World Wide West, the basketball guy, the guy, like Maverick Carter, maybe LeBron's guy.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the kind of person that lobbyists usually are. They're usually in the shadows, kind of working, greasing the wheels to try to make things happen for the people they work for.
World Wide West was the dude that was doing it for the college students, right? I mean, for the students coming into the league. Okay, yeah, I read a story about him. Okay. Yeah. But that's an interesting little.
That was very helpful.
Yeah, that was an interesting politics lesson that we got from Professor Austin. Will this be on the test? That's what I need to know. Will this... But I want to ask you real quick, Nick. So in your path to, like the level of success that you've achieved, what was some of the best advice that you got? Do you remember anybody who like sat you down and said something to you that really stuck with you? Or?
Yeah, never shit on anyone ever, because you just never know, how someone can help you, regardless of like, you can see a homeless man outside, but 10 years later, that dude might own a biotech firm, and you may need his help. So make sure you try to be kind to everyone, help people when you can. I mean, you got to do what you got to do for yourself and your family. But to the extent you have extra and you can help people, help people. Advice is free. and it'll always come back to you tenfold. And that advice has been really, really good for me in my career. I've seen it happen.
Dope, dope. Yeah, yeah. And you are that type of person too. This is a real, caring, philanthropic. That's my big word for the day, Jay. You're a
Ah,
philanthropic
I
type
try to
person.
be, man. I wish I had billions, and then I could
Yeah.
really do what I want to do out here. But
I know.
what little I have, I try to do with it.
I know you just being modest. You got that belly, man. Go ahead, say it. You got the belly. No, no, but so on that same token of advice that you received, what's something that you wish you knew going in, or something that you try to tell people that ask you something that some
The
little piece of knowledge.
importance of investing your money. I
Mm,
wish I would have known about that when I was younger.
right.
Investments are everything. That's how America works. And I didn't realize, I mean, I invest now, but if
Mm,
I would have started in high school, for the money that I have, I'd be like tenfold,
yeah.
if I would have started investing earlier. And we as African Americans, we don't invest. And
Right.
so learning investment, whether it's real estate investment, whether it's investment in the stock market, whether it's investment in other companies, whatever type of, or creating your own company or your own brand, I
Mm.
just really wish there was more focus on teaching our kids how to invest money.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. That's good advice. That's definitely some good information. You had a lot of successes. What would you say like is your biggest regret or failure, and what did you learn from that?
Me and my friends started a restaurant in Philadelphia,
Mm.
and it was Cafe Rue 52, and
Okay.
we sold crepes and sandwiches, and whatnot. And the restaurant failed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And
Then you selling crepes to black people. It's your problem, Dick.
but
Nigga, if you don't get some chicken.
it's some chicken.
I know, right?
So-
It failed. It was a spectacular failure. I
wow.
lost thousands of dollars,
Wow.
thousands and thousands of dollars. And the lesson that I learned was don't start a restaurant. It's a really difficult business to do.
Mm-hmm.
And at least for me, I would never do a restaurant again. But I also learned, the importance of choosing your business partners wisely. Just like you would choose your wife wisely, you need to have that same level of discernment when doing business with people.
Right.
The
You
same.
married, Nick?
Nah, nah, nope, not yet.
He showed you the
Nope,
finger to it.
no,
You
mm-mm,
gotta prove it.
right, right. Nope.
nah, nope. But
yeah.
but if I were to choose a wife one day, I'm gonna put her through the paces. I gotta know everything. But
Right. Yeah.
it's one of those things where in business you should have that same level of discernment for the people that choose to do business with. And it's a lesson that I've learned, and it was a good lesson. It was a costly lesson, but it was a lesson I learned, and I'm thankful for.
Most of the best lessons are costly, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's emotion.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are the ones that really stick with you and really guide you and to any kind of level of success. So that's pretty dope. Well, it's already 12:30. I do want to ask you. There's a couple of questions that I usually ask all of our guests, and I always like the answers that I get because they're pretty introspective. So if you had an opportunity to talk to young Nicholas Austin, if you could go back to let's say 11, 12-year-old Nicholas Austin, if you could get in a time machine and go back and actually see him, in the streets of Trinidad, chilling, you had an opportunity to have a conversation with him. What would that conversation be like? What kind of things, knowing everything you know now, going through everything you've been through with all the wisdom you've acquired, what would that conversation be like?
First thing would be like buy up all the shares of Microsoft and Apple you can.
Right.
But basically back to that investing piece. The second piece is I would have been more confident earlier on, right? Because, I always talk like this. So even though I grew up in the hood, people would think, oh, you some rich kid from Bethesda or
Right,
like,
right.
or like PG. I'm like, nah, I'm actually kind of broke and poor from Trinidad.
Right.
I just happen to speak English really well,
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so people be like, oh, you trying to talk white. And it made me for a long time not shine the way I should have shined. And so I would tell myself to say, bump all that, always, be true to yourself and do it confidently. correctly. Don't let anyone ever make you feel like less than you are, because that's your gift to the world and that's your purpose in the world. And so I wish I would have come into my own sooner that way, versus always feeling self-conscious about the way I talked or how different I may have been than other people that were around me in the neighborhood.
Right.
And so those are the two things, investing and always just being confident. And it's a lesson even today when I walk into, I have the different part today, right? Because when I walk into a room today, I'm usually the only black dude in the room. And, I walk in, I'm about 5'11", 6 feet, I'm about 300 pounds and I got a beard. So, when I walk in, they're like, who the hell is this, walking in this boardroom?
Right.
And, I walk in and I'm like, I'm Nick Austin. You better fucking recognize, like I don't, belittle myself or make myself feel any smaller, because I'm running this meeting and I'm in charge. So you need to sit down so we can get started.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. I'm Nick Austin, and that should be, if you ever do run for office, that should be your slogan. I'm Nick Austin, and you need to recognize. Yeah, that'd be dope. That'd be crazy. But but yeah, that's a huge thing. And I think knowing you from when I did, I saw a point where you started to come into your own, and it was always based on your prowess when it came to debate and to being able to use your intelligence and your voice as your weapon, and so when you said that, that was why it was shocking to me when you said law wasn't something that was on your radar until somebody brought it to you, because it's been obvious to, I think, a lot of people around you for a long time. So it's dope that you found it.
Me, right?
Right. It's dope that you found it and were able to use it to your advantage. And you already touched on it a little bit, but I know there's a lot of people looking to get into law and entrepreneurship and things of the nature that you're into. And so what kind of advice would you give somebody that like you didn't, started out not knowing?
You gotta talk to people that look like you. So if you're a black woman and you want to be a lawyer, you need to find some black women lawyers to talk to, so they can give you the roadmap, they can give you the playbook, they can tell you how to do it. Like Biggie said, the 10 Commandments, right? You got to have rules to this,
Yeah.
And so everything is like that in our society, the way it's set up. You don't really have to be super smart or super wealthy or super successful. You just have to know the rules. And I didn't realize that, as a younger person, but now, I know that. Like, if you want to be an engineer, you just get the engineer rule book and you follow it, and you can become an engineer.
Right.
And so what I'll do is, you got my email address, right? NickAustinESQ@gmail.com. For anybody listening to this today that wants to become a lawyer, and you don't know how to get started in the game, you give me an email and I will be sure to link you with a mentor or someone, in the legal field to help you, achieve your goal and get where you want to be. But that's really the key. You got to talk to people that look like you. And I say that look like you for a reason, right? Because if I were white, my journey to becoming a lawyer would be very different.
Yeah, definitely.
Very different, right? And if I were even a black woman, my journey to becoming a lawyer would be very different. So you got to get advice that's tailored to people who went through the struggles that you went through, because I'm not going to do well asking, Bill Clinton how he became a lawyer, right? Because I'm not a white man from Arkansas.
Right.
So
Right.
What you pointing at, Ish?
Because this goes back to what I was talking to David about before, about HBCUs, which is why it's important to attend them, because you have your mentors and peers in those spaces. Mm-hmm. When you're at PWIs, you are the anomaly, and they're going to look out for their own ilk. It's not even purposeful. A lot of times it's just the nature of how it is. But when you're immersed in an experience where you're around professionals and mentors and people who look like you, it's a different energy. So that's just full circle.
100. I agree with you 100.
Yeah, we're gonna go a little over today, because if you guys don't mind, because I did want to talk a little bit about that, because Nick, you graduated from Morehouse, but you have the luxury of a unique perspective where you went to Morehouse and then you also studied at Georgetown. So getting to see the cultures, the different cultures. I was talking about
night and day.
Yeah, and I was talking about
Morehouse.
Go ahead.
Yeah, night and day. Morehouse just helped my spirit and psyche. It was the first time in my life where I've ever been surrounded by nothing but black people. I mean, because you got Morris Brown, you got Clark Atlanta, you got, Morehouse, you got Spelman. It's nothing but black excellence everywhere you can see. Like, because
especially
Clark.
Spelman.
Exactly, especially his Spelman, man. And so you're surrounded by all of that. And I remember talking. You mentioned Spelman. I remember going on a date with this girl, and I was like, "Well, what do you want to do when you leave here?" And she was like, "Oh, I'm trying to go to NASA and be an astronaut." And I was
She
just
probably
like,
did it too.
"Yeah,
Right.
she did." And so I was just
But
like,
hey, girl,
what? Like I
Spelman was going
never
from-
heard nobody black say they want to be an ass. Like
Right.
it wasn't even like a thing you could do, right? Like what do you want to do? Or I want to be a rapper. I want to be a basketball player. I want to be an astronaut. Like
Right.
we can do that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Let
Like
us
what?
in. Yeah. That's dope.
It's
That's
like
dope.
mind blowing. Like she going to space. Like and so it's the first time in my life where I've been surrounded by people where I'm just like, wow. And they all look like me. They all like things I like. We doing the same things, you know what I mean? But she's gonna be an astronaut. And so
Yeah.
that kind of experience just empowers you. So when I got to Georgetown, it was like she said a second ago, you know, I was the anomaly. They were like, oh, look at that Negro that speaks well. Okay, that was cool.
Yeah.
It was like a circus exhibit.
Yes.
You know, no
Wow.
one really took
Wow.
an interest in me at Georgetown.
Right.
No one really was advocating for me to do well at Georgetown. You know, I had professors that did all kinds of racist stuff to me and said all kinds
Wow.
of racist things to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, treated me like I was slow or like I had some issues. But coming from Morehouse, I already had that confidence. Like, man, I know what to do. Coming from Morehouse,
Hold up,
I
Nick.
knew people I could
Ain't
call.
no good shit happened at Georgetown, Nick. For real,
You know,
damn.
the best is the
But Allen
best
Iverson
experiences.
went, nigga. Come on.
You know, I mean, the best experiences I had were from the Black Student Union, per se. We call it Black Law Students Association, but it's really like a Black Student Union. But I can't count that
I
because
know.
that's my
I
people,
was just
right?
about to tell you that don't count.
Yeah, they don't really count.
Your peers, you had to still
But
around.
the reason I asked, because I went to a PWI and a HBCU, right? And I remember at the PWI, there was this literature professor, old white lady, that really took an interest in me. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I guess it had nothing to do with race. She was like, yo, like you really write. And, you know, I think I had her for like English Comp 2 and like creative writing. And I guess very similar to what you experienced, Nick. She couldn't believe that I could read and speak and spell so well.
Oh,
So
wow,
she was
look at this
enamored
magical
with me.
Negro.
Like, yo, where'd you come from? Like, you know what I'm saying? But to transcend race, I really think she was just like a literary buff. She just really liked writing and she saw that I was, you know, naturally. And so I did get a lot of encouragement, and she was very supportive of me and were giving me assignments to do extra credit, because I don't even think it was race. I think she was just such a creative writing enthusiast that she found somebody in her scope, you know, black or white, like, but she definitely was encouraging and like supportive and was like trying to push me to do better. And this was some white lady at a white school.
But with that though, so one, you were exceptional for her, and I think for the mid-level or for young people who aren't really clear on what they want. So if you're already focused and driven, you're going to excel wherever. You know what I mean? Yeah. PWI, HBCU, it has no real bearing.
Right.
But those of us who may be indecisive, or you're looking for quality leadership or someone who you can, you know, exemplify and see yourself in, it's important to immerse yourself in that early, because once you get corporate space or the working place, you will be in the presence of Caucasians your entire career, the whole time. So that opportunity to be at HBCU, and I'm a big advocate for that, because growing up, like I said, I was in schools where I was the only black child, and you know what I mean? Like when you're the exception, you know what I mean? There's pressure on you from that end, or you speak well, they assume you're talking white, or why do you act like this, whatever your interests are. So it's difficult a lot of times navigating that. You have to have a strong spirit and a strong personality to persevere. And I just feel like being at HBCU, especially when you're young, you know, in those formative years, and then you move into a PWI, it's a world of difference. You know what I mean? Just the confidence you'll have, and just the overall, just that exposure to Black excellence. Like you said, a girlfriend of mine went to Southern. She's an engineer at Amazon. Her best friend is an engineer at NASA. And their foundation started at Southern University. You know, just having that exposure and that experience and that camaraderie, it lasts a lifetime. It's something that you grow into as an adult. And yeah, I'm all for HBCUs.
Right,
Me
Yup.
right,
too.
yeah. So before we wrap this up, the question that I had about it though was there are some people who have spoken to the lack of a HBCU to effectively prepare its students for interactions in the real world, just because it's not a clear representation of. And so I'm not saying this is what I've heard. I'm not saying this. I don't believe it either, because I was at Howard. I didn't graduate from Howard, but I was there for a couple of years. I spent too much time in the girls' dorm, so I didn't make it out. But I feel the way you feel
And
about the
it's never
experience.
too late. And it's never too late
Go
to
back.
go and wrap
No,
it
it
up.
Go
is.
back to the
No, it
girls'
is.
dorm.
Right.
Oh, wrong.
No.
button, sorry, Nick.
No.
I'm just saying, man. It's never too. It's
No,
never
it
too
is.
late to go back
It's
and
too
wrap
late.
it
It's
up.
too late for me. I can't do it. It's too late for
It's
me.
too
I
late
don't-
for Dave.
I'm not gonna
Too
make
late
it.
for Dave.
I'm not gonna make
Put a fork in
it.
him. He's done.
Yeah, right. But no, but yeah. So
I feel like it goes back to the standard that whiteness is best.
Yes.
And when I hear those things, you're devaluing the black experience and black intelligence, because you're basically saying that being black is not good enough.
Right.
You know? And what I tell people
In
who say
America.
that is they would never say that about any white institution. But every
Nope.
white institution is not Harvard.
right,
Nope.
right,
Every white institution is not Georgetown or Yale.
No.
right.
Plenty of low quality, bad rating white institutions out here.
John Hopkins is an HBCU, and they converted it over. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't start off with all these other ethnicities there. It was for us. And
Mhm.
so there's that. No, I don't subscribe to that at all. Me and my cousin, we debate about this all the time. And she's like, well, my daughters, they don't go to HBCUs. And I was like, well, you're doing them a disservice. I'm just saying.
What I noticed in corporate America, and this is just my own anecdotal, right? I don't have any proof or statistics for this, but in my experiences in corporate America, I find HBCU graduates to be more competent
That's
in
right.
themselves usually. I found
They are.
most of the Ivy League and PWI folks, that at least that I've run into, to demur more and to be more timid in
did
corporate
not-
environments.
Did I not say this, David?
Yeah, you did. She said it.
Yeah.
Just in my
Right.
experiences,
He's
right?
right.
Yeah.
Well, someone agrees with you. That doesn't mean you're. No, I'm just playing. You're right. You're right. You're right.
I can see the correlation by, the confidence thing. That makes a lot of sense.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. I don't want to keep you on here for like 6 hours, because we'll talk to you all day. But man, it's been
No,
an
this has been
amazing.
great.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
I got the last statement, Dave.
You got the final statement. Okay. Well, I'll let you do the final statement, then I'll do the wrap up. Go ahead.
All right. So before you leave, brother Nick, my mom was studied paralegal for a couple years. So this is a true false answer. Are you ready?
Okay.
A true false
go.
answer.
True or false answer.
Oh,
And then
true
you
or
can wrap
false.
up. Then you can wrap up, Dave. All right. So, a quote from my mom, who was a paralegal for a couple years. She was like, "The law is not about the truth. It's about what you can prove."
That's pretty much what I said. That's pretty much what I was saying. You know,
Sure.
the jury duty thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just true. That's why lawyers matter. That's why you need to have black lawyers, and you need to have people that understand the black experience in those roles.
Yeah.
Good job. Go ahead, Dave.
Definitely. That's a strong way to end it too. I appreciate you, Jay, and I appreciate that answer, Nick. Hey, man, it's been so great talking to you. Thank you so much for coming through and kicking it with us today, man. I'm just happy for you and proud of you, brother. Like I said, knowing from where you come from, to see the level of the heights that you've reached is a beautiful thing. And I know you say you stand away from public office, but I'm gonna vote for you next year. I mean, the next 4 years for
man,
president.
it ain't-
I'm
it
writing
ain't
you in.
saying
You
I'm
can't
in it.
stop me.
Nick, I'm
Yeah, I'm writing you in.
brother.
I'm writing you in. You can't stop me. You can't stop me. I'm writing you in. But yeah. But thank you so much for coming through. Isha, thank you so much for stepping in for Patrice today. We appreciate you. It's always fun to have you twirling your hair with us on here now. But your input and insight is always welcome, and your feminine energy is always necessary. Jason, thanks again for holding it down for the Hotep, brother. No, I'm just playing. But
That's right. I don't even know what it means, but I like it. What
Hotep's
does it mean? What does it mean?
Hotep's I'll send you the dictionary definition.
Okay.
No, okay. All right.
But no,
I can look
Jay,
it up. I
Jay,
got a
just some
phone.
real. I want you to know I respect your energy and I respect where you're coming from because, like you said, we want the same things, man.
Likewise, brother. Likewise.
And so, and we're gonna talk some more. I'm gonna call both of y'all because I mean I think it's some potential for some real change to happen between the two brilliant minds that we have here. So, well, the four brilliant, I ain't gonna. Isha, you're brilliant too. But anyway, but
Not you,
yeah,
though, Dave.
yeah. Not me. Yeah. No, I'm
I'm
just
just kidding, Dave. You're the
no,
best,
I'm the
Dave.
comic relief. But but yeah, man. Thank you guys for watching us today. It's been another episode of Neighborish Livecast. We'll be back next week with more information, more great guests, more great conversations. Y'all take care of each other and take care of yourselves. Peace.
All right, take care, everybody. Y'all
All right.
are awesome. Keep doing what you do.
Yes, sir.